Major funding for Carolina Business Review is provided by Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle-market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant HEALTH, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. And by Sunoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries.
Well, no pun intended, but between the cost of fuel, personal and municipal balance sheets, weather anomalies like the very warm winter, the shifting sands underneath the travel business can even be harder to predict than they were before. Welcome again to the most widely watched source for Carolina business and public policy. I'm Chris William, and on this program, the experts around travel and tourism.
Major funding also by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, health care, rural churches, and children's services. And by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Who's responsible for rising health care costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. This edition of Carolina Business Review was recorded June 8, 2012. On this week's program, Kit Cramer of the Asheville Area Chamber of Commerce, Brad Dean of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, Lynn Minges of the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and Chris Stone of the Greenville Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Hello, welcome to our program. Good to have you all here. This is exciting. You know, travel and tourism in the Carolinas, and Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
All of y'all have been on except Chris, and good to have you on the program. But travel and tourism has been one of those industries that you know, seems to be weather resistant to a large degree. It's certainly one of, if not the largest, certainly the largest industry in the Carolinas, and everyone watches it, or a lot of people are certainly affected by it. Lynn, I'm going to start with you. The Federal Reserve comes out periodically with these beige book reports, and one of the specific line items in that report had to do with travel and tourism, and what the beige book said was, quote unquote, solid gains in travel and tourism. Is that a surprise to you?
Not at all. We've seen good growth in travel and tourism over the last couple of years in North Carolina. I suspect the same in South Carolina. Our industry's been pretty resilient, even during an economic downturn, but it's getting stronger and things are improving, and consumer confidence is getting better. The job numbers are getting better, and we're certainly seeing that in all aspects of travel and tourism.
Do you feel like travel and tourism is ahead where it was a year ago?
Oh, we definitely are.
Are you ahead of expectations, too?
Well, we had forecasted growth. We were up about 8% in 2011, and already this year we're tracking along about the same. So we're having a good year.
Brad, what's your take?
Yeah, we're seeing a great year this year in the Myrtle Beach area. Of course, we invested a lot more in marketing over the last couple of years, and that's helped to grow. But I think what we're seeing so far this year, Chris, is a great sign. More people coming, and those who are coming are staying a little bit longer, spending a little bit more. I think that has a lot to do not only with the marketing and the appeal of the Carolinas, but the affordability of the destinations in North and South Carolina. You can't find a better bargain vacation than you can in North and South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. You know, let's move over to the other. Let's move to the upstate, and let's move to Western North Carolina. You know, you're connected at the hip, so you've got to see a lot of the trends. Does any of this ring a bell with you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, we had a great winter. It was wonderful for us, so our numbers are up. And
which is surprising, Kit. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you would think a warm winter in the mountains is not a great winter. People want to go up there for the winter sports.
Well, specifically for Asheville, it's great because people want to come to Asheville and eat and spend money, and we're all about that.
Yeah, okay. Chris?
We've seen a really nice comeback with business travel. So that piece for us in Greenville has been significantly really important for us. And then I think the redo of our downtown has really created some demand for people coming in over the weekends, coming in to attend festivals and see our great community. And then thirdly, the Southwest Airlines. So that's been a real boon for us in terms of air travel, getting people in and out.
You know, I want to key off of something that you said, Chris, and please, any of you, Lynn, I'll start with you. But when you talk to some of the regions in the Old North State, and and municipalities and cities, local governments are now going through budgets for 2013 and setting those up. Do you feel like when you have these conversations, do you get the sense from whether they're travel and tourism executives or not, do you get the sense that we're through the crisis part of this? Or is there still a lot of lingering around, well, is it a crisis? Do we feel like it's a crisis? What's the sense you get?
I get a sense that we're through the worst of it, that things are getting better. Most of our local tourism authorities in each of North Carolina's 100 counties are funded by a local occupancy tax. So as Brad was mentioning earlier, as room rates continue to increase and the tax on those room rates increase, as we're seeing more visitors coming in, their revenues are greater and they have more money to market with. Where we're still seeing a little bit of a challenge is at the state level. I'm funded by General Fund, the Division of Tourism, and those state tax dollars are still down a bit, and so our funding has not rebounded quite yet. We're anxious for that to happen, but all in all, I sense around the state budgets are pretty solid.
Do you get the sense in what is going to be a pretty critical election year in North Carolina? I mean, clearly a lot of eyes are on North Carolina, not just around the DNC, Lynn, but are you going to get any public policy relief, any chance to get some of those dollars that you want?
Well, the North Carolina House has allocated or recommended an additional $500,000 for our budget, so that's certainly a positive sign. The Senate's still discussing budget right now, but we would hope that maybe there'd be some investment there. I think both sides of the aisle believe in travel and tourism. It's just simply we've been behind the 8 ball for several years now with a budget deficit, trying to plug that hole. And we, all had to do more with less. But we're anxious as the economy rebounds, the state budget situation gets better. Hopefully there'll be more investment in travel and tourism. It certainly yields big dividends.
Chris, we've also got to really step up our game to be more savvy from the business standpoint of showing our investment. Showing the return on our investment. So without question, we're an industry that can bring revenue in. And now we need the proper investment to bring that revenue in. But all of us are making real solid gains. We return $25 to $30 for every dollar that is put into the investment in terms of showcasing our community and doing marketing.
And you can, Chris, you can itemize that out.
Sure,
you can show on a balance sheet tourism dollars invested to what's come back into the community.
Well, in our case, if tourism wasn't there, every household in Buncombe County would have to pay an additional $360 in taxes, because from property taxes as well as sales tax, fully a third of the retail purchases come from visitors. So that it has a big impact on the entire tax base, which then offsets what some of the locals would have to spend.
Yeah, if you think about it, most of the people who come to our state and into our communities are coming from other places. They're coming here, they choose to spend money in our local economies. Every day in North Carolina, visitors pump $43 million into our state's economy. Just the state sales tax revenue from that is $3 million every day. Every day. And those are people from New York and from Florida and from Ohio and Pennsylvania who choose to come to our 2 states to spend money and do the things that Kip said. They support jobs for our state citizens, and they're creating tax revenue. So
to the Myrtle Beach example of that, you've got a 1% sales tax that was, and it is a sales tax, am I correct about that? It started in 2009, was going to go for 10 years. It's an interesting tax because it's raised so much money, but it's also accretive to those who live in the county, in Horry County, and in the city of Myrtle Beach. So it looks like a win-win. Are these the kind of more unique ways you're going to be able to raise money and less coming from the State House in Columbia?
Yeah, I think the 2 changes we've seen is we cannot just depend upon state funding. That's important, but we've got to keep our state tourism agencies and these other tourism authorities well funded, and it's got to come from other sources, private as well as public. The other thing, Chris, I think oftentimes people don't appreciate that tourism really is an export. Just what we're importing is money, and we're exporting smiles and memories, and those are easy to take advantage of. In Myrtle Beach, we faced some very serious declines. City Council and the local delegation took a bold action. They did what the old business adage was tested when they say, when business drops, the first thing you should do is invest more in your marketing, not less. And it's proven, not only has that paid off with a huge return on investment, it wiped out property taxes in the Myrtle Beach area. And frankly, now they're looking at extending it, making it permanent. We never thought 3 years into it that would be the discussion.
Wait a minute. Go back to this. It wiped out property taxes?
Yeah, what they did is they invested this money, and they said 80%
residential
of it
property
has
taxes?
to go into tourism promotion, and the remaining portion can go in to reduce residential property taxes
as a
or
credit?
pay for personal property taxes. So the residents of Myrtle Beach got the largest property tax cut in state history. 90% of residential property taxes went away. And the remaining dollars that have paid for a new boardwalk and perhaps expansion of other facilities. Now, Myrtle Beach is unique, but I think it goes to show you with public and private dollars matched, the investment in tourism-related infrastructure and tourism marketing can yield great results. And the great thing is those dollars are being spent in places we weren't before, bringing new visitors to the Carolinas, and some of those new visitors will eventually become property buyers.
Why couldn't you do something like that in Asheville, or have you?
We have a occupancy, it's a 4% on hotel rooms. And those dollars all go into either marketing or 1% goes towards capital improvements in the city. So we've built soccer fields in the effort to attract more tourism types of activities. We've improved the Civic Center, or we've built a park downtown. There are any number of things we've been able to do with that. Tourism Product Development Fund is what we call it.
So as you get more creative with these pools of money, and you find revenue sources that clearly are positive for the residents in Myrtle Beach, I guess the question becomes, how do you keep the intent pure for what those funds were used for? Because anytime you start getting a pool of money,
it is a constant battle.
Right.
It's a constant
so how do you
battle.
do it? I guess how do you do it?
Well, I think what you've got to do is clearly delineate what, from a tourism standpoint, what can help you draw people into your community? What can help you from a business standpoint in terms of bringing in new businesses or entrepreneurial businesses? What are those kind of assets that you can create? And at the same time, you've got to have money for marketing.
Right.
So you've got to build product and make your place a great experience, as well as then having the kind of dollars to go tell your story. I know in Greenville's case, that's one of the things that we're dealing with. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of money, a lot of effort to creating a good experience in our community. But now what we've got to do is we've got to go tell our story, and we need the resources, appropriate resources to be able to do that. So I'm hoping Brad might adopt me.
I mean, legally?
In North Carolina last year, we collected $145 million in occupancy tax, bed tax, from those visitors who chose to come. And we have a rule of thumb in North Carolina that municipalities who collect that tax should invest 2/3 of that back into marketing and promotion and 1/3 into infrastructure and improvements. And by and large, that rule holds true around the state. Most municipalities adhere to that, and that served us well. It's a good rule of thumb, and has helped us grow our business.
And so, Lynn, on the more state level, on the more, the 10,000-foot level, so how do you protect that occupancy? When that pool starts getting pretty big, and especially in a state where North Carolina, where you've got, for the first time in 100 years, you got Republicans controlling
right.
The General Assembly, and they're looking for pools of money. How do you protect that, and how do you say, listen, guys, this really has to be for tourism?
Well, those tax dollars are each created by separate bills, local occupancy tax bills, and they're very dedicated and specific about how those funds are allocated. So that's not a pot of money that legislators would go after, I don't think.
Yeah.
Our state money helps to leverage those dollars and pull them together so that we can make smart marketing investments. So, if we're doing our jobs right, we're using our $10 million at the state level to bring pools of money from partners all over the state to do more and bigger things.
I think in South Carolina, Chris, what we've seen is probably one of the best public-private partnerships that's ever been created in our state, was the public-private partnership where 2 private dollars go in to match 1 public dollar. And that gives the state agency more leverage. So now you have more dollars coming in, and it also keeps the private sector involved. If you're just handing out public dollars, you do have the risk that eventually the goals start to change or you get off path. But when the private businesses that have to benefit to continue to invest are at the table, sharing public and private funds and guiding all of that investment, you've got a much greater advantage and more opportunity to keep that sustainable return coming.
You get the sense that the public policy for your industry has gotten better this year? And I mean, is it going in a good direction? Or are you still having to swim upstream to sell? And I'm just talking about the State House or the General Assembly, but in general, just having to sell the breadth and the depth of how much tourism and travel and all things related.
I think it's a constant job.
Really?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Even in a place like Asheville, which has such a significant tourism
Why do you
component.
think that is?
Because people don't, there's a tendency not to remember that those dollars went into the Civic Center or went into building parks. And so it's incumbent upon us to continue to educate the public. Mm-hmm. We've had a tendency to kind of play whack-a-mole. Have you ever played that game?
Yeah, right.
When the issue pops up, we whack it. Well, instead, we're trying to work to get ahead of it so that we don't have to play whack-a-mole with it, and make sure that people understand that tourism is a very important component of a balanced economy, especially in our case.
Do you have to still work as hard, Chris?
We do. We again, as an emerging destination, so the first things first for us is just the education of what tourism brings to the table and why it's important and why it adds quality of life enhancements to our own community. We're a place that never really thought of itself as a spot where people would want to come and travel and spend time in. And so what we've created has been a really great destination where people are now choosing to come spend some time with us other than just business travelers. And so that's been a real great opportunity for us, but one that locally our own people didn't really even expect to be in.
You know, I want to stay with Western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina for just a second, because that corridor has gotten a brand of, well, you know, and Asheville's always been like this, Kit, or at least for a long time, it's been, you know, just a different place. And you either like it or you don't like it. But a lot of people like it. They like the way it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, Greenville's gotten that way, you know, not just with the river walk and all the cool stuff that's going on, but I wonder if, and I'm kind of wondering out loud, and y'all probably going to roll your eyes about this, but it seems like a region or a state, Lynn, if you will, or the Grand Strand, I mean, once you get your brand right, it seems like it's a heck of a lot easier sell, and your numbers go up when you figure out who you are. Is that?
Oh, I think so. And I think in the public relations aspect, while paid media is incredibly important, I also think the public relations aspect of things is also incredibly important. And we generated over $5 million through public relations activities last year if we had bought that kind of media. So when you have people saying good things about you, when you manage to get on those lists of best place to live, that type of thing, that is just really, it's golden. Really helps.
Yeah. Clarity is so key on this issue, I think, these days. I mean, think about how we're just bombarded with messaging, and that will only continue to be even greater as we move forward. So the branding piece is just a real necessary and very critical part of our sales pitch that we do these days, and making sure that people understand who we are.
Yeah, and I want to go to something in Myrtle Beach. You know, for a long time, people know what Myrtle Beach is. They know what the Grand Strand is. They know what to expect when they go down to Myrtle Beach. But you seem to have this other thing going on here, if you don't mind me bringing this up, and that is you've kind of connected real estate development or real estate investment now. How does that ring in travel and tourism, Brad?
Sure. Well, we've got the brand in Myrtle Beach. Of course, it's beaches and it's golf courses and it's lots of fun.
Right.
But we recognize if we're going to invest this much in marketing, we don't want to leave anything behind. And perhaps we can also spur some real estate purchases, especially in an area where we have too much real estate and not enough buyers. So what we've done is to capitalize upon that, the investment in the Visit Myrtle Beach message with a follow-up message to say it's also a great place to live and work and invest. And what we're finding is that not only resonates with people who visit the area, but people who are looking for affordability, low cost of living, low tax rates. Now they've piqued their interest, they might actually consider the Myrtle Beach area for a real estate investment. And if they do that, that helps bring in even more dollars to the community.
So how critical is brand in this?
I think it's very critical. And to follow up with what Brad was saying, I think many people who visit our states come time after time after time. We get a huge number of repeat visitors, and I suspect that's true in Myrtle Beach. I know it is in Asheville. And those visitors have a great experience, and they then want to retire in those places. So we're seeing a great influx of people who are choosing second homes, retirement homes, and with that, many of them retiring early and moving their businesses. So I think there's a great correlation, and we're playing that up in a big way.
Well, and that's the code we're trying to crack.
What?
Is to get people to think about coming before they retire. We're happy to have them as retirees, and we want them to buy homes and do all those good things. We want them to come when they and bring their companies or expand into the area and bring jobs. So we're trying to figure out how we can use, we've got this natural asset of all these well-heeled tourists who are coming to visit us, how we can reach them with that message that you were talking about, Brad, of do business here. You don't have to wait till you retire. You can do business here now and bring your jobs.
Back to branding, we've long positioned North Carolina as this place to visit for rest and relaxation and natural scenic beauty, and it certainly is that. Our visitors do talk a lot about those attributes. But we've focused recently on those very unique things that you can only do and see in North Carolina to sort of differentiate North Carolina. We've come up with a list of 543 unique things that you can only do in this state. 543 because that's how many miles it is from end to end. So we're really focusing in on iconic things about North Carolina.
For instance, I'm going to ask you
the
that.
wild horses on the Outer Banks, or some of our native musicians who got their start here, and this place inspired them. To a phenomenon out in western North Carolina, Shadow of the Bear, when this bear is an illusion of light that's cast across the mountains only twice a year. If you want to see that, you can only see it in North Carolina. And we've had a lot of fun with that, and the digital world, digital media, allows us to tell, hundreds of stories like that.
How do you separate out the good fortune that the Carolinas have had when it comes to in-migration? I mean, not to take anything away from you, but I think if you took out the component of a progressive travel and tourism, you're going to have just some percentage of folks coming down here for the weather, for the economy, for the views, take your pick. But I guess how do you separate that out, and how do you measure what would naturally occur, Brad, and how do you know what is because of what you and your group or your association did?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and a particularly important point for destinations that are trying to grow, because as you invest more money, there is an assumption that you're going to get some spillover with the existing tourism. What we actually do when we measure the return on investment is to gauge, are these new visitors? Have they ever visited here before? Have they visited here but maybe not in recent years? And that helps us measure not only the impact we're having overall, but did we move the meter in the short term, particularly with a visitor that hadn't visited before? And as Lynn mentioned, differentiation is key. If you're known for beaches and golf courses, but you got to bring them for another reason, you want to measure and make sure that that impact is working. Otherwise, you might mislead yourself in good times and find yourself falling behind in bad times.
I want to jump back to you on something, and I know we're jumping around here, but there's so much around this big fuzzy ball of tourism that you can connect into. Brad, we were talking about the real estate message that you had sent out, or the investment in the community through a real estate. Is there low-hanging fruit, Kit, in this connection between entrepreneurialism and tourism? And I specifically think of the New Belgium Brewery that's shown up in Buncombe County. Is it Sierra Nevada?
Sierra Nevada's in Henderson County, yep.
So what's the connection there?
Well, in our case, very specific connection to tourism, because there was this Beer City USA poll, totally unscientific.
Who did it?
And
who set it up?
I can't remember. There's a gentleman who has set it up. I should know his name, but it's unscientific, but it is very competitive. The cities that get involved are all about it. So we were in head-to-head competition with Portland, for example, and we won 3 years in a row. We tied this year with I can't remember. Anyway, I don't want to give them any advertising.
Right.
And I think that put us on the map with the beer companies. And so we were in the mix for them to look at in terms of locations where we might not have been.
But that's an
previously.
economic development story, isn't it? That's not a tourism
That is
story.
a tourism story, because that poll was generated specifically around tourism. We've ended up getting all kinds of media around that, around beer production and all the craft breweries we have. So it led to an economic development announcement. And I love that, because we've built our whole economic strategy around capitalizing on assets that currently exist. Tourism is one of those assets we have. We know that unless something really bad happens, we're going to have a lot of people coming to visit us.
So what's the and we have about a minute left. What's the low-hanging fruit for Greenville then, in that way?
I'd say the low-hanging fruit for us is the place that we've created. So we've created a place that what we find is that entrepreneurs like to come to places where they have a chance to interact with others like themselves, places that have a creative energy, places that have quality of life and outdoor assets, the hiking and the biking and the fishing and the
great food,
so on and so
arts.
forth. And so those, I think where tourism then, the intersection of that is creating a place that is for us and that is for entrepreneurs and people who like to to come and visit and travel.
Yeah, well, we're out of time. And I'd like to ask where you all vacation, but I suspect you're not going to tell me if it's outside of the Carolinas. But it's good to have you all here. Always nice to have you both back on the program. Kit, nice to see you again. And Chris, welcome to this gang, and you're always welcome to come back. Hope you're well. Thank you. Until next week, I'm Chris William, and we certainly hope your summer's good for sure, and your business too. Good night.
Major funding for Carolina Business Review was provided by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, healthcare, rural churches, and children's services. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, who's responsible for rising healthcare costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle-market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant Health, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. Sunoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Promotional consideration provided by Business North Carolina Magazine. For more information, visit carolinabusinessreview.com.